Okay, so let's outline what happened. It's kind of two parshas, one next to each other. You have the parsha of Balak, followed by the parsha of Pinchus. And it starts off Balak. There was this king Balak who was terrified of the Jewish people. He hires the sorcerer, this really skilled but highly unethical, or whatever we can say about him, sorcerer or prophet by the name of Bilam, to curse the Jews. Bilam really wants to curse the Jews. God says no. He fights back. He says yes. Eventually he goes. The whole story. He ascends to the mountain. He brings sacrifices, and instead of giving a curse, he gives them a blessing. And he says, no, I got to go to a different mountaintop. They go to a different mountaintop. A third time, he gives amazing blessings. 3 times, he gives amazing blessings. If you want, the sages always point out that if you look at Bilam's blessings to the Jewish people, even though he really came out with the intent of cursing the Jewish people, but those blessings kind of underscore who we really are as a nation. Beautiful, beautiful poetic blessings that he was kind of compelled to give the Jewish people.
Inspired by donkeys.
Well, inspired by donkeys. He's the kind of guy who, the Talmud says that he slept with his donkey. Like, that's what it says about him. Yeah. Rashi brings it down. Okay. But who had prophecy that rivaled that of Moses. So he kind of had the opportunity, but didn't exactly maximize his opportunity. Anyhow, in the end, he wasn't successful. That Balak, who hired him, is furious, and he gives him advice, and he says, Elokim shel Eila sonazima, the God of these people hates promiscuity, and they develop a plan to have the Midyanite girls go seduce the Jewish men. And at the end of the parsha, it's a very fascinating one, we just read a couple of weeks ago, you said, you have one of the presidents of one of the tribes who is publicly fornicating with a Midyanite princess. And Phineas, he goes to the...
He's Aaron's nephew, right?
He's Aaron's nephew, yes. He goes to... Well, no, he's Aaron's grandson. Pinchus, the son of Elazar, son of Aaron. He goes to the tent. Everyone knows what's happening. And the tribe of Shimon is fiercely protecting their leader, who's engaging in this highly immoral and very public activity. And he goes to the tent, and he says, I want to participate in it as well. And he takes the peg from the tent, and he goes and he stabs them both and kills them both. That's the story. And the Talmud gives us more detail. It says that there's a whole, like it says that there were 12 miracles that happened to Pinchas. A whole list of miracles that the Talmud brings in Sanhedrin in I think it's like 105 or something like that. You get the details. So he's able to stab them both. They miraculously die from this one stab wound. He after stabs him and her at the actual point of their intercourse. He's able to. It says that he's able to lift them both with the peg still attached. And he shows everyone, and kind of he ends this plague. There was a plague, and he ends the plague, and kind of everyone. And they tried to kill him, but they wanted to kill him. That's the story. And the Torah lauds Pinchas for his decision of bravery and zealotry. Now, the question is, it seems like you mentioned, he seems like a lunatic. Lunatic, or what was the word you used? Little cray-cray. So the Talmud actually says that what Pinchas did was kind of in the gray area of law. So much so that it talks about this. I think there's 2 or 3 infractions that the Torah says it's kind of like anarchy reigns. How so? That when people do public acts of chilul Hashem, which is disgrace or degradation or defilement of God's name in a public fashion, then someone who's a kanai, someone who's so disturbed by that, who murders that person, is not liable. That being said, if, let's say, Phineas or Pinchas were to ask permission, am I allowed to kill this person? They would say no. They would say no. And if Zimri, that individual, were to kill Pinchas, he's also not liable.
In self-defense.
It's self-defense. It means he's allowed to defend himself. So it's kind of in the gray area where the Torah says that in this very unique case, where you have a public degradation of God's name, and someone says he's so disturbed by it, he doesn't even ask anyone. If he asks, he can't do it. If he says, am I allowed to do it? If he stops, he hesitates for a moment, then he's not allowed to do it. But he does it and kills him, then he can't be punished for it. But obviously, it's not a law. It's not a law that permits people who do what they want to take the law into their own hands, so to speak. And he risked his life by doing it. Because if Zimri would have shot him, Zimri would have been free and clear. No jury in the world would indict him. So yes, it's kind of a bizarre situation. And
but where does it end though? If I see Vitaly violating a mitzvah.
No. So it's So it's not. It's not. No, it's only for such a the example that's brought of someone who in a public. No, not over the top, but
Baruch Goldstein uses this as a justification.
No, Baruch Goldstein was a cray-cray.
Right.
Baruch
He's a cray-cray.
The guy who shot up a mosque about 20 years ago, right?
So
He's crazy.
Right.
That's lunacy, but that's also not a chil Hashem. That's not a desecration of God. It's only a desecration of God when someone of high stature, like a president of a Jewish tribe, is engaged in a very, very high-profile, highly publicized sexual sin.
Okay.
Sexual.
Yes, it's not like anything else. It's not like if someone does anything else. No.
When Yitzhak Rabin was murdered by, murdered by that guy, I forgot his name.
Yigal Amir.
Yigal Amir, exactly, for trying, obviously this guy claimed, so he was disturbed by what Yitzhak
These
Rabin
guys
was doing.
are criminals and they are terrorists. And Baruch Goldstein, I know there are some people that say, "Oh, what a brave guy." He's not a brave guy, and should not be a positive viewed at all. I don't think, because I don't think he does anything positive. Like he killed 29 Arabs. What do we have from that? Nothing. It's not. It doesn't solve any problem. All it does is incite our detractors, and it's un-Jewish, like we mentioned earlier, and it doesn't accomplish anything. And he himself was killed. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And who knows how many other Jews were killed as revenge? So why would someone do that? I think someone who does that is considered a pursuer. It's someone who's pursuing to kill other Jews.
Was it latest trio who burned alive the Palestinian team?
And that guy is obviously not well. If you read the stories about the guy who was indicted for doing that, he publicly announced that he's Mashiach. He's obviously nuts. He's obviously nuts. The guy who did that. And what did he gain? We have a war now. There's 66 soldiers dead because of him. Not because of him, but as a result.
This guy killed.
An innocent guy.
There's a key difference for you. He's right.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, it is a very bizarre law, and in fact, there's another law that says, I think if a Kohen, trying to remember, if a Kohen steals one of the vestments of the temple and defiles it, there's a few other examples of times where people that are zealous, who don't ask questions, who commit an act of of standing up for God, so to speak, that they don't get punished. But it's an outlier.
Okay.
And that being said, I think it's important to talk about the idea of Chilul and Kiddush Hashem. If you look at Maimonides is structured. The beginning of the books are structured by order of importance. It means you have some books that are structured by order of the day. So like the Jewish laws of waking up in the morning and prayer and eating breakfast and like going through the day and then going through the week. You have books that are organized by order of the Torah. Well, like the book the Chinuch, the 13th century book of apocryphal authorship that says it starts from Genesis. And it talks about the first mitzvah in the Torah, which is appropriation. Then it talks about circumcision. And then it talks about not eating the sciatic nerve. And it goes through Genesis and Exodus all the way to Deuteronomy. Maimonides is structured very uniquely. It's structured by order of importance. Now, who determines what's more important? Well, the author did. So what does he start with? He starts with, you got to believe in God. And he demonstrates what do we mean by God, right? The first 4 chapters of Maimonides talk about God. He describes what anthropomorphisms are, and a little bit of the evidence that we have from God, and just the identity of God, and believing in one God. Like starts from the top. What's the very next thing that he mentions? Desecrating and sanctifying God's name. Like we, in our activity, in our behavior, can be either do Kiddush Hashem, like we could sanctify God's name. People could say, look at these Jews, look how well they behave, like, you know, and that is kind of bringing honor to God. It's kind of like a validation of the Torah theory, where the Torah given to the Jewish people, a special nation that has kind of a special morals, lives in a higher moral standard, right, and acts and behaves that way. So that's a very positive thing. It's the best mitzvah, and the worst mitzvah is where, God forbid, if a Jew acts in an un-Jewish manner and does things that lower the status of Jews, the Jewish people, and God in the eyes of the entire world, then that's the worst sin, and hence it's brought away at the beginning. And
you said the keys is the eyes of the entire world.
Well, the entire world, and much the Jewish people.
So if somebody goes and eats a pork sandwich is one thing, versus if somebody goes and kills the Prime Minister of Israel, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it means anything that would run afoul, that is against what the Jewish people have been teaching, is a certain measure of a Kiddush and Chilul Hashem. And also the venue matters. Means if someone does something in front of everyone, like the guy that Phineas dealt with. That's different than if someone does things in his house behind locked doors. It's different. When someone has a brazen act in front of everyone, especially someone of such high stature, well, that's the epitome of a desecration of God's name. And Maimonides
wouldn't have been justified in Vitaly's example of
course not.
You're right, because it wasn't that level of a sin.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And even if this guy Zimri was in his house but no one knew about it, they also wouldn't be justified. It's different. Now Maimonides, importantly, Maimonides in the laws of repentance, where he collects and organizes all the laws of repentance from everywhere in all these disparate sources. There's no book in the Talmud or in the Mishnah that says the book of repentance. So, it's one of the wonders of Maimonides that he was able to assemble everything, a little line from here, a little line from there, and assemble it all and make, I think, 9 or 10 chapters where he talks about repentance. So what he mentions that there are certain sins that Yom Kippur doesn't help for. We talk about Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, Day of Forgiveness. Yom Kippur doesn't help for sins of desecrating God's name. It's that, because it is a sin, it is a departure from the Jewish way that is very, very bad, a very high level, and you have to do a lot more than that. Yom Kippur is not, that alone it's not going to help.
You can still do teshuva for it.
Yeah, so he outlines how to do tshuva for it. So that's that. Yes, it is a bizarre situation. It does seem crazy. For most of us, it's not even practical at all. Like, I wouldn't do it. I don't have the guts. No one had the guts. It seems like. Yeah. Because if you ask, if the Talmud says if someone goes over and asks, am I allowed to? Is it legal? Like he asks his legal representative, it says no, it's not legal. For you, it's not legal. Anyone asks questions, it's not legal. Okay, so
it leads to the question that I had on my mind was about conflicting teachings. So, for instance, you mentioned the midrash about God holding the mountain overturned and said, "You're going to take my commandments or not?" And then there's other teachings that say God offered the commandments to other peoples who rejected it because they were